How's it going, guys? Cdew here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my fourth installment of my new YouTube series called Cdews and Cdonts. I'm sorry this one actually took so long to come out. I got really busy with the tournament and whatnot, and truth be told, I was a little lazy. So I'm happy to finally get this one out to you guys. My last couple videos that I did were mint, keybinds, and macros, so if you guys haven't seen those and those are topics that you're interested in checking out, you definitely want to go make sure you take a look at those. But today we're going to be going over my UI. I get a lot of questions on why I do things the way I do them in terms of my UI. I'm going to try and help you guys polish off your UI, and I'm going to show you how I set mine up specifically with the add-ons I use, the positioning, why I use that positioning, and things of that nature. So this should be a pretty simple video for you guys to follow. It's nothing crazy in terms of gameplay or anything, just a simple way for you guys to make sure you're ready in terms of movement with the latest videos. You have your keybinds ready, you have your macros ready, and now you're going to have a UI set up all ready to go into the arena and be able to kick some butt. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing you're going to notice here is that these are the raid frames that I don't generally use. And a lot of people come in my stream and they ask me, they're like, hey, Cdew, what party frames are those? What add-on is that? It's really, really simple. You just go into your interface over here. You go into your raid profiles and you click raid style party frames. From that point forward, you're going to maximize the height and the width, and you're going to get them a little bit bigger. You can actually do smaller if you like, whatever you prefer. And then I do these exact check marks, and then I sort by group. That way the party leader always has group leader. So if you're a healer and you want to try and organize, you sort by group, you give that person party leader. For example, right here, that didn't work. That's very embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it, and generally it gives the person party leader to the top, so that's why I do that. But this is how I do my raid frames, and then from this point forward, you can obviously unlock them, move them around, put them wherever you want. There's no wrong position in where to put these raid frames. You can have them wherever you want, and I'm not going to try and get you to kind of craft your UI based around what I do. I'm just going to show you what I do, and then I'm going to try and show you where you want to move your frames based off where they're at. You can put your raid frames wherever you want. I'm used to just kind of playing old school. My party frames are up here. Excuse me, my target frame and my self-portrait's up here. And my party frames were over here for a really, really long time. But I moved them over a tiny, tiny bit, as you can normally see if you're watching the stream, because I use 3 scripts that show additional debuffs. So if you go to my stream, and I'm sure they'll also be below the YouTube video in the comments below, or in the description below. These 3 separate scripts, you have to run them every single time you log in. They're 3 different macros. You just put them in a macro slot. What they're going to do is they're going to show additional debuffs on your raid frame. So if that's something that you're interested in as a healer, instead of just seeing the 3 regular debuffs, if you go ahead and you type those in, 1, 2, 3, and you do them every time you log in, it's going to show 9 additional debuffs to the left over there. So you got to make sure you have some room on the left. So if you're right here, you're not going to see them, but anywhere else in the screen, you should be good to set it up. And that's going to allow you to have a lot more control as a healer. I remember sometimes I would target people and I would use healing spells on them. They'd be in a cyclone. I wouldn't even notice it. And it was really frustrating. So that's definitely a script that if you're a healer, you probably want. And as a DPS, it probably wouldn't hurt either. So that's the reason why I have these frames a little bit over there. I think that's basically it in terms of the UI. I mean, I can show you exactly what I do for some of the other stuff. It's better if I go on my other account here. Account sharing band. If you guys are looking at the exact settings, in case you guys are just curious what the nameplates I use or anything like that, just to give you guys a brief look. But there's not really that many UI settings anymore. If you guys played before this expansion, you guys are going to recognize that Blizzard pruned it quite a bit. But that's kind of how I set up my my party frames. Now I'm going to go into the add-ons I use, and there's really not many. I use Omnibar and I use S Arena. And Omnibar is a really, really simple add-on that is going to be showing you the cooldowns of the enemy abilities, and they're going to track the interrupts for you. They're going to track the really scary cooldowns. If you're facing a Windwalker Monk, you're afraid of Serenity. If you're facing a Death Knight, you're afraid of Pillar of Frost. Omnibar is going to be able to track those cooldowns for you. You just go into the interface here. You go into the add-ons, you go into the Omnibar, and then you go into the spell section. And then you should be able to go through the classes, and you should be able to click any of the abilities that you want to show up. Unfortunately, my Omnibar is a really, really old version, and I'm very, very lazy to update it because then I have to redo it, and I just don't want to. But you guys should have no trouble with that. If you have the older version like me and you're interested in adding spells, there's a really simple way that you can do that. The latest version, I was told that you can actually add spells directly through the Omnibar, which makes it really easy. But I'm just going to give you a quick example of how you want to add spells. So if you go into your interface add-ons folder and you go into this Omnibar LUA file text, it's going to open up this right here. And then you just want to go to the class that you're looking for. So for example, I'm just going to do a brief example here. I'm going to go to Shaman. It has Shaman specific stuff, and then it has the spec for Elemental, Resto, and Restoration. So we're just going to go ahead and go into this specific, or excuse me, the non-spec specific abilities right here. And if you go over to Wowhead and you look up the ability Bloodlust, you'll notice that there's a spell equals in that URL browser. So this is the spell ID for Bloodlust. So it's 2825. And you essentially just copy one of these lines. We'll just press enter, tab over, copy that right there. We're going to change this spell ID to 2825. And then the false or true is just basically whether it's enabled or not. So we'll go ahead and enable that. We'll change the duration to 60 seconds because that's what it is in Arena for that heroism. And then we just change the spell name here to Bloodlust. And we have successfully added Bloodlust to our Omnibar. You might need to do the same thing for heroism, just because they are different. They're different spell IDs. So then you would just do the same thing. You would look up heroism. And you would take the spell ID, and it's 32182. Just copy the line once again. Pretty simple stuff. I don't know why this is here twice. But yeah, you guys get the picture. 32182. We'll enable it with true. And this, if you're ever facing enhancer shamans and whatnot, should make it a little bit easier to kind of track those cooldowns. But it's really, really easy to add stuff. You just go into this folder. This line of text is really not that scary, but if you get the newer version, it really shouldn't be a problem. You can add anything you want because sometimes they don't have everything you want. So I'm actually not going to save this, but I just want to show you guys how to add spells in case you were curious because some people don't actually know that. Not going to save that. We're going to close all this. The second add-on that I'm using is the S Arena, which is going to allow me to move my my enemy arena frames. This is also a really, really common question that I get. So we'll go into the test mode here. And there's a lot of options with this, you can see. Pretty easy to move. What I wanted to show you about positioning your UI to what you see fit. Let's just say there's a lot of different types of UIs. This is what I roll with here. So the reason I have my S Arena here is my party frames are here and I'm a healer. I'm constantly looking at these party frames. It's really important that I'm recognizing the casts that are being done while looking at these party frames. That's why my S Arena is centered over here. Let's say your party frames are over here and you're a healer. I think it'd be good to have your S Arena kind of centered here. If your party frames are down here, you could have it a little bit lower. I think it's really, really good to have these like kind of lined up parallel to each other. That way, if you're a healer, you could kind of always kind of recognize what's going on. And even as a DPS, it could be pretty important because you could be seeing what you see on the enemy, and you could also be seeing what's going on with your party frame. You want to make sure that you are very aware of what's going on in the situation with your party members. I'm trying to unlock this position. So wherever your plates are at or your party frames are at, you want to kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. You want to make sure everything's centered so you can kind of see everything. Let's just say your party frames are here. Maybe your party frames are down here. Or your portrait and your target. And then your party frames are up here and your raid profile's over here. This might be blocking a little too much of the center, so you might want to open up a little bit more there. But generally speaking, you want to make sure that everything is kind of like nice and centered, and no matter which direction you're looking, you can see everything. So when you're setting up your UI, you just want to make sure that you have a clear visual of where everything's going at. You can kind of see everything in your peripheral. If one thing's over here and something else is over here, if you're watching these cast bars, these teammates are going to sit in CC. You're not really going to recognize what's going on. You don't want your player played up there, and then you want your target frame down here. You just kind of want everything to be centered. You want everything to kind of make sense. So just kind of figure out where your target portrait's at and your player portrait's at. Let's just say it's like right here. Then you can go with your thing over there. You can go with your enemy over here, your arena over there, and this is going to make it so much easier for you to recognize everything from a visual standpoint. There's also additional options on the S Arena that's going to allow to scale up your frames. It's going to increase your cast bar. Obviously, you don't want it to be that big. Cast bar scale if you want it to be bigger and not the actual frame. That way you can have really, really big cast bar. Is going to be easier to see, easier to interrupt. You can... the DR tracker, definitely something you want. Just you can mess around with this, scroll upwards instead of downwards. So Arena 1 would be here, 2, 3. I'm not really a big fan of that. But yeah, so S Arena is a really, really sick add-on. It's going to allow you to kind of adjust wherever you want that to go. And then one thing I didn't really mention is where you want your Omnibar. I kind of like my Omnibar underneath my cast or above my cast bar. I think that just kind of looks natural because when I'm looking at my cast bar is when I want to look to fake. So I'm looking at my cast bar. I'm already looking down here naturally by seeing what interrupts I want to fake. So let's just say I'm casting a healing wave. Okay, there's a kick available. It's not showing up down here. I need to fake that kick. So that's kind of my mindset on that. That's why my Omnibar is actually there. I would recommend potentially doing that the same. So in terms of like positioning your UI, I think we covered that pretty well. I use additional scripts that I could go over briefly. This is one of the scripts that I use in order to keep me at the bottom of the frames. You just have to add a /run to that. You'll also be able to find this below the video if you guys are interested, or if you come to the stream. Other than that, all the scripts that I use are kind of just to avoid having to use add-ons. With S-Arena being allowed to be used and Omnibar being allowed to be used, I generally don't use a lot of the scripts unless I'm playing in tournaments, so I wouldn't recommend going for them. These increase like my cast bar scaling, which you could see with the S-Arena. It's pretty simple to do. But the final question that I'm going to go over here, and this is, the final topic I'm going to go over here is a question I get all the time. But it's like, why do you have so many of the same spell icons? And I'm going to give you basically a rundown, and I've done this before in a previous video, but I'm going to give you a rundown on why I set my UI up in terms of the action bars the way I do. I generally have all my cooldowns on these action bars right here. I don't really like them spread out, because if you have a lot going on and you're looking here, then you're looking here, then you're looking here, when I look down in one specific area, I want to be able to see all my cooldowns immediately. I want to see Spirit Link, I want to see Ascendance, I want to see Earthen, I want to see Wall, I want to see Healing Tide, I want to be able to see all those as fast as possible without having to look here, without having to look here, without having to look up here. I don't even show these action bars. That way my eyes are really focused in, and I think that's something that's going to be really important for you guys. One of the reasons why I'm trying to show you guys that it's really important to center your UI. You want to be able to see everything with one glance, because your eyes are going to be constantly moving. In the arena, you're going to have to look everywhere. It's the more you're able to see in a shorter period of time, the more information you're getting. You get to look other places. It's almost like driving in a sense. If you're staring at one thing for too long, you might get into an accident. You got to look at the road, you got to look at people around you, stuff like that. So I have all my action bars right here. I use show tooltip macros to show the same icon twice. That way it's easier for me to see. They're not actually the same keybind multiple times. So for example, this right here, if you see, this isn't actually Spirit Link. It's a chain heal macro, which is just showing the tooltip of Spirit Link. If you go to my macro guide, you'll be able to see how I do that if you're interested in doing that. And then generally, so it's all cooldowns up here, and then all my rotational stuff down here. That's the way I set things up. Some other people are different. You can put cooldowns wherever you want, wherever you feel comfortable with. But what I'm recommending is you just kind of clump them together. So if you like cooldowns on the right side over here, try and put all your cooldowns over there. Keep your eyes really focused on one area. That way it makes it easier for you. But that is going to be it for the UI guide. Like I said, it's a really easy guide for me to go over. It's just basically showing you not the best way for you to set up, but I think like a way that's going to make it a little more efficient for you to set up your UI. So with the first 4 videos that we covered, you should be able to, move well. You have the keybind set up, you have the macro set up, and now with the UI being set up, the next video that we're going to go into is, I think, one of the most underrated one of the most underrated, I guess, values of Arena, and that is communication. So the next video that you're going to be looking out for is going to be about communication for healers, for DPS, and the things that you should be communicating. So I appreciate you guys watching the videos, man. Like I said, I apologize it took me this long to get this one out, especially considering it was so easy. But if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below on the video. And if you guys want to ask me anything live on the stream, you guys know where to find me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm going to try and keep the videos coming out more regularly from now on. Peace.